and Gimba with Ben Cousins.
The HBF Run for a Reason. It returns Sunday, May 25. You can choose your reason and set your fundraising goal, and every dollar raised makes a difference. It's a genuine truth, actually. We're highlighting some of the participants in this year's run and talking to them about their reason. Today we have Tina. She's participating in the Brooks Half Marathon and the HBF Run for a Reason and raising funds for the MND Association of Western Australia, and has been kind enough to join us and share her story. Good morning to you, Tina.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Tina, it's not an easy story to share. We understand that. This is such a personal story for you. And, you know, we say everyone doing the HBF Run for a Reason has a reason. But your reason is really tragic. It truly is. Your husband, Todd, is diagnosed with motor neurone disease. Yep. How old is Todd? Tell us a little bit about Todd and your story together.
Sure. Thank you. Todd is 51, so he was diagnosed or had first symptoms starting just over a year ago, just around his 50th birthday. And in that year has just gone from being supremely fit. You know, he's been a runner. He's around Perth his whole life. A cyclist. He's a canine dog handler with the WA Police. He's been with the police for 30 years. And, now he's almost confined to bed. It has just absolutely ravaged his body in such a short period of time. And so... he's my absolute reason to run. And I just think, I've never really taken my mobility for granted at all. But seeing Todd robbed of the use of his legs so quickly. Actually, it was just around, we just kind of found out that it was motor neuron, what we were looking at around last year's race. And so... I don't know, I just kind of thought I'd use our love of running in the running community to really highlight what motor neuron is, because a lot of people still don't know what it is. And Todd's really well known, so I thought while there's a bit of a focus, absolutely, the HBF Run for a Reason is amazing how it does share or give people the opportunity to highlight some diseases that are affecting West Australians.
Yeah, well, you have absolutely turned this into a brilliant fundraising opportunity for the MND Association of Western Australia. I believe right now you're sitting at around 35,000?
Oh, yeah. We just ticked over 55,000 last night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Congratulations.
Thank
because
you.
we know there are so many charities out there, so many people that deserve the donations. But
the top fundraiser last year raised $30,000 over the 4-month campaign period, and you guys have gone into did you say 50s?
55.
50s,
yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm absolutely thrilled and just want to thank everyone who has donated, because it's been a lot, like hundreds and hundreds of donations. It hasn't come through one big donation or one big event. So we've just been so supported, and it's actually been a really nice positive through the grimness of living with motor neuron. It's been a really nice positive to have, and to also know that people are backing up when they say, what can we do for you? We're here for you. They actually really are. This is really, Todd's diagnosis has really affected a lot of people, and it's a bit of a hopeless situation in terms of what people can do for Todd and Todd's prognosis. So people have just reached into their pockets and donated. I think initially I said $1,000, and then a good friend of mine, he said, why don't you do 21K for 21K? And I said to him, Kev, I don't think so. That's asking a little bit too much. And then he's like, no, everyone, you and Todd, people will support you guys. And then, of course, being a little bit competitive, just went, all right, we'll try and get to 30, and then it's just kept on going. It's amazing.
Well, the running community is such a close-knit community, so well known to each other. But, healthy people and fit people often have the energy and vibrancy to lift those around them. So I can imagine, Todd's the sort of person that through his healthy days was so impactful on the people around him. which is why this must be so heartbreaking for so many people to see what he's going through. But in particular, how are you going?
Yeah, you're right on everything that you just said then. Oh, look, it's terrible. You know, we do really go day by day. So we've got 2 daughters, so it's helping them get through it as well. And it's devastating. So seeing him lose the ability to do things is just as bad as getting the diagnosis. You know, this fit, strong man now becoming more and more reliant on myself and the girls is heartbreaking. He hates it, and just, you know, him losing that spark. Todd was someone who just said yes to every opportunity that was thrown in front of him over his, 51 years, and just is a lover of life. And so he just feels like he's kind of a bystander now. So that's heartbreaking. And I've just got really good at crying and then pulling myself together and moving on. And we kind of use a lot of dark humour, most definitely, because that's the only thing you can do. And we've got very good at that. And then we really do try and think how lucky we are. I'm with Todd every day. I've had a really stable job with the WA Education Department for 30 years. So we're really blessed that we've just both worked really hard financially. We're set. So we've just sucked every bit of out of the last kind of 15 months. Jam-packed a heap of travel in Todd used the term while I'm still upright. So we travelled a lot last year, and then it was almost as soon as we got back in October, he was in a wheelchair, and then has just kind of progressed quite rapidly since we've been back in October.
Tina, I know when we knew that we were going to talk to you, I was sort of... I actually wasn't going to say this because I was hesitant to say it because I just went, I hate the way it feels or sounds, but having spoken to you, I now know that you're very, you understand what all of this means and where you're at, and you guys are so well researched. And I think a few years ago, for a couple of years, I was hosting the MND walk, where they would walk around Burswood Park to help raise money. And the following year, there were a lot less people there, and I was talking to the organisers saying, we seem to have had a lot less people sign up this year, like what's happening there? And it was just this conversation about how, because MND spares no one. Yeah. Everyone who is diagnosed will die from it, and that means that all the families that were supporting the people and turning up every year, that they might have lost their loved one that year, and then they don't feel ready to come back. They don't feel ready to keep supporting because we just keep losing everyone. And that is such a devastating thought.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm part of a few forums online, and I see people kind of report that their loved one has passed away, and they leave the group. It's so hard. It's so grim. I don't blame people. Yeah. I wish that I didn't know what it was. Some days I don't want to be an adult. I just want to put my head under the doona and pretend that I didn't know what motor neuron was. But, we were talking before about things happening for a reason, and if I'm meant to be an advocate for it, then I will, and I'll use my position we're so supported. We're so lucky that, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do to raise awareness for it. And the people who work at I'm guessing all the associations around Australia, but in particular in Western Australia, I think they're amazing to be surrounded by. They're so hopeful and they're so positive when every situation is just so sad. Yep. Yet these amazing people show up every day for families going through it. It's incredible. So you're right, though. It's really it's heartbreaking because if you just Google MND, and that was another reason why I wanted to do the HBF Run for a reason, is to raise awareness for it, because people when they were hearing about Todd thought it was MS, and MS is an autoimmune disease. So it's actually educating people to know what motor neuron is and that it's life ending. And so they call it the 27-month disease. So it's different for all people, and I'm just going to talk about our experience. But one of the first things the neurologist said to us was, "You've got 1 to 5 years. Get your affairs in order and go and make some memories."
Wow.
And so,
God, how final.
Yeah. So here's this amazing man who's just turned 50, and he, was really throwing himself into his bike riding. He was planning on, he'd just ridden at the World Championships in Italy in the October 2023, and 4 months later he's been told, you've got 1 to 5 years to live. Go and make memories. Get your affairs in order and make memories.
Jeez.
I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And then you've got people going, stay positive. I mean, honestly, if someone, and I have heard this, some people get diagnosed and they never leave their house again. I can't blame them.
Because there's such a feeling of helplessness, right? But you know what? If nothing else outside of that, you are also going to have a whole other moment where you're handing over more than $55,000 to these researchers in the hope that other families in the future are not having to go through the horror that you have.
And the thing at the moment with, and I love the logo that MND have, it's until there's a cure, there's care. And it's really all that you can have at the moment, like care from these amazing people. Care in the form of equipment as well, and it's grim. It's so confronting. Todd was still walking around, and they're talking about, okay, we need to do house modifications for your house. How we live in a 2-story house. How are you going to get up the stairs? And so, Todd still wants to not pretend. He just wants to live life as normally as possibly for him, for our daughters, for everyone around us. And yet we're having to make plans to, what's going to happen when his legs don't work anymore? And
his body has been his asset.
Absolutely.
He's taken care of it. He's looked after it. And there are so many of us who cannot say that.
Yeah. And, when things for Todd, if he had a good day, bad day, whatever, he'd go for a run. That's the first thing. That was his coping mechanism. He's been a police officer for 30 years. Those guys are amazing. The stuff that they see every day just through work. Todd's running was his decompression.
His escape.
His escape. He'd come back from a run, all sweet, all good. He could process whatever he'd seen during the day, and that was actually the first thing that went, and that was one of the first signs that something was wrong, because we were going for a run on completely flat ground just around Lake Gwelup, and he tripped over, and so what had happened, he had developed drop foot. So some weakness in his lower limb. So his form of motor neuron is called limb onset, and so it started in his right leg. So he was able to wear a splint for a little while, and then it went from one type of splint. So he went through about 3 different splints, then walking with a walking cane, a walker. So it really is a progressive.
Yeah.
And this is like less than 18 months.
Oh, yeah, well and truly. So,
and up until that point, nothing. Symptoms, nothing.
No. Do you know, in retrospect, looking back now, and we would, at the time, you would never have thought it was motor neuron. And because he's been an athlete his whole life, he started waking up with some cramping in his right calf, like really tight cramping, which now it appears was the first sign of motor neuron. But I don't want people to panic, because I wake up with cramps in my calf.
Of course.
And if you're regularly running and you're like, I've got a bit of shin splint, or I've got a bit of that seems standard.
So it started with the cramping, and then there was muscle weakness. And so he wasn't, so supremely strong. And, you ask anyone about it, he's just so strong. He wasn't able to hop on his right leg, and then it was so quick, that leg, then that was the foot that developed drop leg, and so it travelled up his right leg first, and then his left, and then that's when we kind of went, wow, this progression, because the neurologist can't tell you. They say everyone's a snowflake, everyone's different. They can't say whether it's going to go into your hands next or his mouth. Some people, it starts in their mouth, so they start to speak with a slur. At the moment, Todd can still speak. His voice is getting weaker. He can still swallow though, so that's fantastic. He can still tell me what he needs. Whereas for other families, if their loved one loses the ability to speak, then there's the communication issues.
Everything. You're already losing enough cruel. As it is.
Yeah,
it is such a cruel disease. Tina, we are so grateful that you came in to share your story, because you're right. It helps educate everybody.
Yeah.
It also helps people to donate. It encourages people to donate. In fact, please tell us what your page is so that everyone can donate.
Yeah, I'd love that. I mean, the money that's raised, it'll be too late for us, but it'll go to the association and it'll help. I think I was telling you guys off air, it's, there's 200 West Australians living with motor neuron disease at the moment. And if you're over 65, you don't get NDIS. And I didn't know anything about NDIS until we were in this. So once you're over 65, you don't qualify for NDIS. So you only get home care packages and the pension. So these poor people are having to fund equipment. The equipment's expensive. It's so expensive, basic wheelchairs, $2,500–3,000, and the wheelchairs the people's needs change as they lose postural support. So they're up to like $30,000 for the wheelchair that a person with MND needs. And so we're really lucky that like I say lucky, that Todd's age, we've got an incredible NDIS package, but anyone over 65 doesn't have that.
That's
and
unreal.
so we just want to be able to pour as much money to MNDA WA so they can stockpile equipment to be able to help people.
You're incredibly brave and you're really strong. I said when you walked in, you look ready to run. You're a very fit woman, and I think you said to me, the running is the easy part. And we know why now. We are really sorry that you and your family are having to deal with that. It's awful. But we're also very proud of what you've been able to achieve by talking to us, by what you've done with this fundraising, and we wish you all the best for the run.
Thank you. I will just add one last thing. I didn't say this at the start of my fundraising. I'd actually torn my Achilles. So when I was moving Todd in one of the transfers, I tore my Achilles just after I launched the fundraising page. So I've got all these people donating. And I'm a running coach, so all my guys knew, and they're like, don't tell anyone. I'll be right. I've got like 20 weeks or whatever it is. So anyway, the good news is I've been back running for about three or 4 weeks. So I've got another 3.5 weeks. So I'll crawl around the course if I have to. But there's about a group of us who are going to run around an hour 45. So if anyone's sitting on 5-minute K pace and wants to jump in, there's going to be a big gang of us running it. So I can't wait.
Pete and I would love to say we'll see you there, but we're in the 3K walk.
Well, our daughters are doing the 3K walk, and my sister and brother-in-law and niece and nephews. So
what's the
if we
pace
see them
for
there,
that?
we'll celebrate them.
Because I haven't even started training for that yet.
You'll be right. Let the momentum of the crowd take you.
Tina, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.